I'm gonna just say take money out of the equation.
Mm.
Kindness is important because it keeps everything flowing. It keeps peace. It kind of also helps you to like get to know people because kindness is a really
Sometimes life's greatest teachers are found in the most unexpected places. Today's guest, Wade Simmons, has spent 15 years working in the funeral business, a career that has shown him time and again the preciousness of life and the importance of love. Alongside that work, he's also pursued his creative passion, spending nearly a decade as a filmmaker, capturing stories that inspire, entertain, and connect. And if that wasn't unique enough, he's even spent 2 years training in professional wrestling. From entrepreneurship to storytelling, Wade's life is a testament to following your passions, honouring life, and building everything on a foundation of kindness. Wade, welcome to Positive Vibes with Nicki Dennis.
Hey, I love the introduction, by the way.
You're welcome, Wade. You're most welcome. So, Wade, growing up in Chicago, did you ever imagine your path would take you from funeral service to filmmaking?
Well, yes, actually.
Oh,
And, some people get surprised by that, but I always knew what I wanted to do when I was a child. I would always say that I wanted to be a funeral director and I wanted to be a filmmaker. And so
wow.
when I was in elementary school, I would sometimes like that was one of my friends. I could never draw, right? Like I always wanted to know how to draw. So I used to pay one of my friends in elementary school to draw and help me make up cartoon characters. Because my dad was one of my first employees as a child, right? My dad used to help me make up like characters and stuff because I could, like I said, I could imagine them, but I couldn't draw. And
Mm.
so I always knew that I wanted to tell stories and like, create characters and stuff. And then as far as being a funeral director, I remember when I was in eighth grade, I was, talking about the process of embalming and things of that nature. And there was a young man by the name of Terrence Matthews. And he said, "What, you want to be a funeral director?" And I said, "Yeah." And so I ended up just pursuing both. That's kind of how I got started.
Yeah, well, it is a bit hard to believe, but it is what you're saying. But that's amazing that you knew from such a young age. So, can you share what first drew you to funeral business, and what have you learned about life from being so close to death?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, so I growing up in church, I went to a lot of funeral services. And
Hmm.
as a child, I'm like, somebody has to do this. And so my mom, them, they always tell me, like, a lot of time I would go up to and be like, well, that person didn't look right, or this didn't look like that. So
Mm.
I'm like, maybe when I get older, God willing, I could pursue it and maybe do the best job that I can to, make sure that families were satisfied. And so I just pursued it, and it took me a little time to kind of get through the schooling process, but it was hard. But I
Yeah.
got through it. By the grace of God, I got through it, and it was rough because like a lot of people don't realize when you go to school to be a funeral director, you're literally taking up pathology,
Mm.
microbiology, chemistry. You're learning a little bit of law. You're learning a little bit about psychology, counseling, things of that nature, religion, and because everybody doesn't always share the same belief system, so you have to kind of know a little bit about everything, which is
Mm.
which is amazing because as a funeral director, you wear many hats, and
Yeah.
so it's a very interesting industry. But to be honest, working in the funeral business, I always say it keeps me grounded because
Mm.
most times people don't want to be around that, but when you're around an environment like that every day, it's always a constant reminder that it's a temporary journey here. And so
Mm.
it just really makes you like live with purpose and intention and just, not sweat the small stuff,
Mm.
you see so much going on in the world, like people so angry and fighting one another. But when we think about time and life being precious, it's like, you know, I guess a lot of things that we kind of lose our cool about sometimes is it's not even worth it because in the end, life is one of the most precious things that we can have.
Absolutely. And I loved how you mentioned earlier that as a child you went to many funeral services and saw that things weren't right and you wanted to do what was right for that person. leaving this world and celebrating their life. So that's just beautiful to hear. So, how has that experience, as in the funeral service, shaped the way you live and the way you love?
Oh, that's a great one. For me, I always say that time is always moving, and so am I. And so, being in the funeral business, it has taught me that tomorrow is not promised on this side to any of us. And so, you just it teaches me rather to just get up every day and live with purpose and be grateful. Because I mean, sometime in life, we may not always be what we think we should be, but we have to take it one day at a time. And so it teaches me to take one day at a time. Whenever I think about somebody, I try to check in on them, because again, we never know. And so
Hmm.
it just really encouraged me to like check on people and see about people, and just live life, and just if I have any goals that I want to achieve, just take every day to try to get there. Even if I don't, just take it one step at a time. And I borrowed this quote from a good friend of mine by the name of John, but he always says, enjoy the journey, don't think so much about the destination, because
Hmm.
sometimes people are thinking too much about the end goal, but not really enjoying the journey to get there, because again, every day is precious, and all of us have lost relatives, and
Yeah.
we understand that, just the thought of understanding that, this person was here and then they're gone, and none of us are going to be here forever. So it's kind of like,
Hmm.
sometimes instead of trying to look too far down the road, we have to really take time to appreciate what's going on in our life currently. you know
Hmm. Yeah.
the present really matters.
Absolutely. And yeah, living in the present and understanding that what's around us at the time. And I often say, if you wake up, it's a good day. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. So, after years in the funeral service, what made you pick up a camera and step into filmmaking?
Well, so my life kind of went full circle, because again, like as a child, I always knew that I wanted to pursue both. What ended up happening though was when I went to mortuary school, I started in 2016, but I ended up, I didn't do so well, so I ended up having to start over in 2017, and then I didn't come out of mortuary school till 2018. But in the process, after we went through the course of being a funeral director and taking all those quizzes and tests and all the sweat and tears, we had to pass what I call the exit career exam.
Oh.
And the reason why I call it the exit career exam, because that's really just what it did. Like, because before you can even take the national board exam, you have to pass an exit exam. And so
Yeah.
the exit exam was really hard. And so I was struggling to pass it. And I think this was like probably 7 months after I graduated. I was still going out to Wheeling, Illinois, trying to pass this exam. And I'm like, you know what? If I don't pass the exam, I'm gonna have to find something else to do. So
Yeah.
I was looking at being like a veterinarian, and I'm like, when I went to the vet tech school, and I'm like, you know what, no, this is not for me. And then I
Mm.
thought about being a plumber, so I went out to Vegas and worked with my uncle, and I'm like, my family is gifted with this, but this is not my area expertise, and so I ended up coming back home, and I remember praying, like, talk to God, like I got to do something. But and so I ended up like, you know what, I know that I always wanted to be a filmmaker, so why not just go to film school? And right when I went to film school, right, I ended up still going out to take my exit exam. And right when I enrolled in film school, I ended up passing the funeral director test. I was like, now all this time when I was just focusing on this, nothing was happening. And then when I put my
Yeah.
focus somewhere else, then it just, so it's like, things have a funny way of working out, thank God.
Yeah. Well, as you said, you wanted both. So it was at that time you got both, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah. So, what kind of stories do you feel most called to tell?
I love telling stories about love, about families, friendships, and lately I've been making more visual poems, because poetry is kind of like a good way to reflect on life, and it also provokes thought. But when I started filmmaking, I didn't quite know what genre I wanted to do. I
Yeah.
just kind of went with what worked. So because like my first actual episode of my web series was actually based off me in mortuary school struggling, and the main actor did not show up. And so I ended up having to do the part. So
Ah,
when I started doing the part, then I just kept the series going and just, you know, just kind of made it whatever I wanted to and just tried to keep it. Cause like I try to make things more about love,
mm,
more about positive things, because I think that in this world we live in, we see a lot of negativity.
yeah,
Even social media is thriving with people fighting and hurting one another and all those things. But the world's not a bad place. It's the things that us people do in the world that make it bad. And so I try to just promote more love and peace and promote more people caring for one another. So like I really enjoy making films about love, whether it's about a relationship or families. But
mm,
honestly, I'm really like more in love with making documentaries, and
yeah,
I'm actually in the process of making a documentary now. I'll talk a little more about that in a sec. But I
mm,
like making documentaries because being in the funeral business, right? A lot of times you go to a service and you will hear about a person's life, whether you knew this person or not,
mm,
and you're hearing about this person's life. And so, like, what I like about documentaries, right? You get to tell somebody's story and people can actually see it.
yeah,
A lot of times, like when you sit through a funeral service and you're like, even if it's a person like somebody you could have known like 20 or 30 years, and you maybe known them for 10 years, but you didn't know that they were an
mm,
underwater welder, or you didn't know that they used to live in Florida or they lived in Japan, or that they
mm,
moved. And so you find out a lot of interesting things about people. So what I like about documentaries, it helps me to tell a real story and connect with a person and just kind of get to know them. And I think that it's a beautiful thing to kind of show that vision. So
yeah,
honestly, I'm moving more in the direction of becoming a documentarian because I enjoy making documentaries more than narrative films, to be honest.
yeah. Yeah, I'm just listening to that, and in my head, I'm thinking, well, you've got a niche of two that you could blend into one. Would you say your perspective on life from the funeral service is influencing the kind of films you're creating? Because a documentary about someone's life is a eulogy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that is true.
you can connect both of them. Imagine that, bring that
Absolutely,
together. Yeah.
absolutely. And it's amazing how things work together because a lot of people have. Because I remember one time the owner of the funeral home, he he was like, "You're wrestling, you're preaching, you're filmmaking, you're doing this and doing that," and I'm like, "Well, a lot of things you do actually can actually come together
Mm,
and can be combined because sometimes people have to understand that creativity is a part of everything we do, whether you're a lawyer, whether
mm,
you're a doctor. I mean, even, all the tools and things we use, all of those things are things that somebody thought about. And so I tell everybody that being an artist is really a part of everything
mm. Well,
because
yeah, sorry, I cut you off then. What we're going to get?
yeah, oh no, I was just gonna say because that's one thing that I like always think about. Like art has a hand in almost every business,
Mm,
even with artificial intelligence, right? Like a design and things of that nature. Like some of AI is like human, like
mm,
or the computer that they use to make it, or like the background or the website or the voice they use. It's like it's all art. Like
yeah.
so, art is a very big part of everything that we do. So I
Mm,
just say that like, everybody is an artist, whether they realize it or not.
yeah, I was just thinking then because I've recently lost my father this year, and the hardest part was pulling everything together for his eulogy and his slideshow. So you've got a real idea there that again people would probably jump on for you to do a documentary of their life story. And it was only 5 days before he passed that he was going to have a volunteer come and do his life story, but he never got there in time. So, yeah, there's a real opportunity with that connection of bringing those two worlds together. Yeah, you wouldn't have thought about it, but yeah, it's a real connection there. So, you've also said that kindness is at the heart of what you do. Why do you think kindness is so important in business and in life?
Well, because first of all, I'm gonna just say take money out of the equation.
Mm,
Kindness is important because it keeps everything flowing. It keeps peace. it kind of also helps you to like get to know people because kindness is a really like deep word because to me kindness is not just if this person likes red and I like green. And my thing is like, well, what's so good about green that you like it, you know? And I think that with kindness, you learn how to be patient with people.
Mm,
You learn how to be loving toward people. You learn how to reason with people. And I think that in the world that we live in, we have to understand that like all of us are different, you know.
mm,
Even when you look at animals, right? Like you got you. I don't know if you ever had like a dog or a cat, but I've noticed that some cats like hard cat food. Some cats like wet cat food. Like my sister, she
mm,
has a dog and she doesn't like wet dog food for whatever reason. But everybody is different. And so
mm,
I learned to, like as a person to just always be kind to people because everybody has a valid story. Everybody is unique. Everybody has a reason why they think the way that they think. And so I think that with kindness, it just really teaches you to be, more patient and more,
mm.
tolerant of one another.
Yeah.
It teaches you how to kind of just understand that, hey, I'm not the only one in the world. I'm not the only one who thinks things or feel things. And so, we can all connect together a little better. But I think a lot of times what we kind of miss the mark a little bit is like when we are not as kind to one another
Mm.
because the opposite of being kind is like mean.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the opposite of love is hate.
Yeah. Yeah. Wise words, Wade. Wise words. I'm all about kindness, and yeah, kindness makes the world go around. So, what lessons about leadership and compassion have you carried from funeral business into your filmmaking career?
So, as far as leadership, is to always be proactive instead of reactive.
Mm,
You don't want to wait till something happens to try to fix it. You want to fix everything before something happens. And so, I believe that a good leader is transparent, honest, and always thinking and always kind of critical about their work and about what they do. And
mm,
like I said, you don't want to get around being honest because I think any good leader always will start out with being honest. Because the one thing about honesty is not, how can I put it, sometimes it can be a little harsh, but I think that if it's the truth and it's honest, I would rather try to be honest with a person than, and especially being in the funeral business, right? Like you definitely want to always be
mm,
upfront and honest because that's and I put it like there's no business. I think people should be dishonest, but I think that in the funeral business, you definitely have to have integrity,
mm,
and integrity goes a long way.
mm. Absolutely. Absolutely, Wade. And for those listening who are chasing their own entrepreneurial dream, what's one piece of advice you'd share with them?
I would say go for it and don't overthink it. Instead of trying to start big, start small. I always say, like, think about it like being in the grocery store, like, and you see the shelves. If something is too high, you might have to get a ladder, take one step at a time and climb up to get it. And
Yeah.
so to me, it's like when you have things that you're working towards, just take small steps.
Mm,
You don't have to always take big steps because with the small steps, you will start to learn different things because even something that you've been doing for a long time, right? It's always something new to learn. Like
mhm,
I've been in the funeral business now, can't believe it, but God willing, next year will be 16 years.
mm,
And in between that time, right, when I first started out, I started out volunteering and I was working in the chapel, greeting families and helping
mm,
clean up and stuff. And then when I finally got my intern license last year, because I'm still doing the Illinois, it's crazy because every state is different. Because I just went to take the test to get licensed in California, and California has a very different requirement. But when I first started, though, I was doing more stuff up front.
yeah.
But like since I got my intern license in Illinois, I started making removals, which are transfers going to the hospitals to pick up, loved ones or going to the
Mm,
nursing home. and I kind of enjoyed that part of it a little more.
Mm,
And it's crazy because I didn't think that I would, because at first
yeah.
I was so used to being in the chapel and going to services and stuff, but now I've been doing more going out and just, and I think I've been enjoying that part of it a little more, you know.
Yeah, because you're taking care of them from that time of their transition. Yeah, that's beautiful. So I want to touch on another part of your career or your life. Training for professional wrestling is such a unique chapter in your life. What did that season of your life teach you about discipline and resilience?
Oh, it taught me a lot. I didn't, now that I didn't see coming, it did teach me about like discipline and being in shape, and it also kind of got me to focus on eating a little better and working out. So that was really fun, and it just kind of taught me like, you got to be consistent. And it's funny because like before, this is way before I even started working in a funeral home. Actually, I was on the amateur wrestling team in high school freshman year. Then I quit. And then senior year, the same year that I started working in the funeral home, I went back to the wrestling team and I did wrestle and I stuck the whole season out. And so after I graduated, I was more focused on being a funeral director. But inside, I always wanted to have like a college where they still had a wrestling team.
Mm,
But me going to school for mortuary science, the schools I went to, they didn't have any wrestling teams. So that dream was just.
go
But what
on.
ended up happening was that I was actually trying to make a documentary about pro wrestling, and so I reached out to Steve Boz. Steve Boz, he's been on the wrestling scene for a very long time. He wrestled back in the day in a few promotions. He was also on WWE when it was WWF for a little while.
Yeah.
And me and him just started talking, and he was like, "Well, come out to the school or whatever. Just come check us out." And so I was trying to get there, but I was always working at the funeral home. So one day I was finally able to go, and when I went, I'm like, I want to make a documentary about, your training and professional wrestling. And he says to me, "When are you gonna start training?" So
Oh.
I said, "You know what? I start next week."
Ah.
So so I ended up training for like 2 years, and I met a lot of cool people. I met,
Mm,
some of the people that I used to watch back in the day on WWE. I met so many people, and I loved it. I mean, I'm still
yeah.
affiliated, and I'm actually in the process of finishing up that documentary now. So that's been
Uh,
going great. I can't wait to put it out.
I was going to ask if you finished your documentary, so it's going to be out soon, is it?
Yeah, it's going should be out like next year.
Oh,
Yeah,
wonderful,
because we
wonderful.
want to make it really good. We've interviewed a couple of people, and we want to make it as good as it can be, because like, to me, I met so many wonderful people and
Yeah,
beautiful people in that industry, because there are so many people in the pro wrestling industry, especially like on the independent scene, that are just been doing it a long time.
yeah,
And it's amazing because some of the people that we see like in TNA or New Japan or
mm,
WWE or even AEW, some of those people train with, a lot of us on the indie scene and things of that nature. So I
yeah,
think it's just kind of nice because not everybody goes to the major companies. Some people just stay on the independent scene, and
yeah,
and it's a beautiful thing though, because like it's amazing how like everybody has a different journey, right?
yeah,
And some people stick with it, some people don't. Some people go to the major companies, some people stay independent, and then some people just do it as a hobby. Me,
mm,
I chose to do wrestling as a hobby. I
yeah,
didn't get into it to go to WWE or AEW. I'm like, I'm cool. I don't have all the money in the world, but I'm not. That's I'm doing this strictly because I want to have fun with it, not trying to.
yeah.
You know, yeah. I trust me. I need my back.
Yeah, yeah, to do your filming and you're also your funeral service industry as
Yeah.
well. Well, we look forward to that documentary. I could imagine it's going to show a different perspective of that world, because you would think it'd be quite a harsh world, but when you said there's so many beautiful people in there, so I'm sure you've picked up that side of it as well. So when you think about your journey so far, what's been one of your proudest moments?
One of my proudest moments was actually when I got my diploma from my mortuary college because that was a long process and
Mm,
it was almost one of them things like it felt like it was never gonna happen because, like I said, while graduating and while I was trying to figure out what was next, I mean, it didn't look like I was gonna get it. And then, I was praying and talking to God about it. And so I ended up getting it after I passed the embalming side. And so
mm,
that was one of my happiest moments because I was like, yes, you mean I never got to come and see this place again?
yeah, yeah,
Oh, that was the best. That was like one of the best feelings in the world. But also when I graduated film school,
yeah.
because I ended up going right out of school, right back to school. And then that was another 2 years. So it felt good to, get through film school and just get all that. But then it also felt awesome when I started training for pro wrestling. So,
Mm,
those are like a lot of the highlight moments for me because I understand that like one thing about me is that I'm very like goal oriented, and so when I have a goal, I set my eyes on it, and I do what I can to try to make it happen. As long as it's all good stuff, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
The wonderful achievements, Wade, and congratulations for passing on both of them. So, what do you hope people feel when they see your work, whether it's in service or in film?
I just hope that they realize that I really enjoy what I do and I care about it, and
Mm,
I don't want people just to watch my work. I also want to work with people because I think one of the biggest things is like I know that like, especially being an artist, like especially like today in the social media world like that, a lot of people are like really big on follows and likes and things of that nature. But
mm,
to me, I don't want to just take from people. I also want to be a giver. And what I mean is by that is that I don't want people just to see me win. I want to see all of us win. I understand we live in a world where everybody has their ups and downs. Some people go further than others, but I want to see everybody win. I don't never
yeah,
want it just to be like it's all about me. Like no, like I think that when you meet people, you never know what may happen in life. You never know
mm,
who will become what because, and I'm gonna be honest because like I've seen it even in the pro wrestling business sometimes where like I did meet a lot of beautiful people, but there were some people that may not have been as nice. But
mm,
I say that to say to your point is that in life you never know who people are going to become.
yeah,
You also never know who people are because again, all of us are connected to one another in a lot of ways sometimes. And so you never know, like they say, you never know who's in the room. And
mm,
so not everybody is always in front of the camera or on stage or doing big things. Sometimes those individuals that are on stage and then the cameras are there because other people kind of help push them forward and help
yeah.
promote their journey. And so I just never try to look down on anybody. Like I try to be supportive to everybody.
Yeah, and that's a wonderful way to live, Wade. And I'm sure there's a lot of listeners out there resonating with the same way to live in life as well. So, Wade, can you share a quote or a mantra that inspires you?
Sure. One of my favorite quotes. It goes like this, and this is actually a quote that I believe God gave me that time is always moving, and so am I.
Mm,
And
yeah,
I know that's not like a famous quote, but it's one of my favorites because time is what we have. It's a gift. And so, we don't want to take it for granted because we know that in the movies, well, now they have like you can rewind, you can fast forward, and you can
yeah,
press pause. Yeah. But in real life, only thing you can do is go forward. And so you got to make every moment count because
yeah,
it's time is very important.
absolutely. You're spot on there, Wade. And you mentioned before that the funeral industry keeps you grounded. Is there a simple daily habit that keeps you grounded?
Absolutely. A lot of times when I do get up, the first thing I always do is pray. I thank God,
Mm,
and you know, that's one of the biggest parts. But also just taking time out to see about people. Like a lot of people who know me know if I got your number or if I got you on Facebook, whatever, I'm probably gonna hit you up or reach out to you because I'm one of the people that if I think about somebody, I will reach out to them. And I think that that's so important to just see about people because you just, you never know what people are going through, and so
Mm.
you never know. You can really be a helping hand to somebody. You just never know it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's those little things of just checking in on people or smiling at a stranger. You just never know how you can change their life. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Wade, where
And
can I, sorry, you're right,
I
and
was gonna say, and I'm at a point, in my career right now to where my schedule is a little different because I work as I'm called, and so well when I'm back home in Illinois, I'm trying to still get some things set up in California too. But back here, when I'm here, you never know when you're gonna get a call, so you have to always really be ready because you just never know. So
mm,
that's the life of being in the funeral business.
yeah. Yeah, it's in your face every day, isn't it? So
Yeah.
yeah, you have that message loud and clear every day. So Wade, where can our listeners connect with you or see your filmmaking work?
Well, you can see my film work on Vimeo. It's Wade Filmmaker 777. You can also reach me on Instagram, Wade Jedi 99, or reach me on Facebook, Wade Simmons. And feel free to reach out. I love everybody. I'll talk to anybody. You know,
Mhm.
I'm here for you if you want to talk.
I'm sure you'll be getting some people hitting you up. Yeah. So, Wade, if someone listening today is feeling lost or stuck, what's one message of encouragement you want them to hear?
Well, my one message is this: always reevaluate everything. Look at what works. Look at what doesn't work and
Mm,
sometimes look at trying some new things because sometimes you can be doing things and it seems like you're not getting ahead, but maybe you just have to try it a little different. You never give up, you never stop doing what you're doing because
mm,
sometimes slow success is actually good. I think that not everything is instant, and don't get caught up in the concept of thinking that everything just has to happen right now. Sometimes taking small and little steps actually has a really powerful impact. And also, I say this that I know we live in this digital age and all that, and it's fine, but never forget to make real personal connections with people because
yeah.
that's where the true power is.
Wise words there, Wade. Wise words. You're so true in that we get caught up on that digital world and forget to connect personally with each other. Yes. So, well, Wade, thank you for sharing your story and reminding us that life is both fragile and beautiful. From serving families in their hardest moments to creating films that brings stories to life, you've shown us that kindness is the thread that ties it all together. So, thank you for joining us today.
Anytime.
To everyone listening, no matter where you are or what path you're walking, remember that life is too short. Choose love, live fully, and let kindness guide the way. This is Positive Vibes with Nicki Dennis. Until next time, keep cherishing life, keep creating, and keep leading with kindness. Sending you all love and positive vibes. Bye for now.